What's going on, guys? I am Never Sweating, and today I'll be bringing you the only health and healing guide that you'll ever need in Gray Zone Warfare. Healing is one of the most important things to master, as it'll keep you alive and in the fight longer, as well as making your overall experience in Gray Zone Warfare much easier. By the time you're finished watching this video, you should know everything there is to know about healing and staying alive in the harsh world of Lemang on Gray Zone Warfare. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off with blood levels. Your blood level is essentially going to be your HP bar in Gray Zone Warfare. In total, you have about 5,500 points of blood, and you lose blood by getting bleeds. You lose too much blood, and you'll fall into a coma, which you'll then need a friendly PMC or teammate to come do surgery on you to be able to come out of that coma. It's important to note that you can find the blood bar or HP bar in the bottom left of your health tab on your character. This is how you can track and see how much blood you actually have. It's important to know that if your blood drops below 2,000, you will more than likely go into a coma state, as well as when your blood decreases, you will notice side effects such as dizziness or a red and blurry effect around the edges of your screen, which gradually get worse depending on how much blood you've lost. I can personally say the blurry dizziness effect is extremely annoying, so if you don't want to be annoyed, then try and get the blood back in you as soon as possible. Another thing to note is that if you drop below 4,800 points of blood is when you will start to get the dizziness and blurry effect around the edges of your screen. So, how do you recover your lost blood? Over time, you will regenerate blood. However, it is very slow, but it still does happen. So blood bags are not necessary, but they do help out the speed of which you recover that blood. I have personally regenerated around 2,500 points back in blood before, meaning again that blood bags are not necessary, but do greatly increase the speed at which you regenerate that lost blood. There's two types of blood bags which you can purchase from LabRat. You have the small blood bag and the large blood bag. The small one takes up only one slot and has only one use. The larger one has two uses and takes up two slots. They each give about a 500 point boost to your blood. You can use them on yourself or other PMCs, and they're fairly quick should you need to get it done in a hurry. It's important to note that if you want to use a blood bag on a friendly PMC or a teammate, that it must be in your tactical rig, your tactical belt, or the small blood bag can go in your pockets. They cannot be in your safe container and they cannot be in your backpack if you want to heal other teammates, but you can heal yourself with blood bags, surgery kits, bandages, any type of healing item from inside your backpack or your safe container, as long as you drag them over to the desired spot on the health tab that is injured. The other two metrics you should pay attention to are energy and hydration. Again, if these two get too low, you'll experience things like fatigue and dizziness. However, it's very easy to find food and drink, so it should be fairly easy to stay topped up on them both. Almost all the AI either has like a coffee or a drink or some type of food or drink on them. So again, it should be fairly easy to stay topped up on those, keep some extra in your book bag, whatever. All right, moving on to probably my favorite mechanic in this game as far as when it comes to healing and stuff like that is the hotkey mechanic. You may be asking yourself, how do I actually use all of these items? There are actually three ways to use a medical item. Simply by right-clicking them in your inventory and clicking the use button. Option 2 is you can tab over to your health screen and drag that medical item onto the injured part of your body. Or option 3, again, probably my favorite, is the hotkey system. Any item that is in a container that also has the lightning bolt beside it means that you can press the specified hotkey to use that item. For instance, tactical rigs, belts, and pockets are all containers that will allow you to hotkey an item for quicker use. How do I actually use this hotkey system? It's pretty straightforward. By default, your hotkey menu will come up by pressing the number 4. You can then press H, G, or P to access things like meds for H, grenades for G, and provisions for P. To quickly use the medical item, press 4 and then H, and then scroll to the item you would need to use and press H again to actually use that item. This is why I always make sure I have things like gauze, bandages, and tourniquets in my hot cable containers, for the simple reason that should I need to quickly stop a bleed or quickly heal a light wound, instead of taking the time to tab over to my health screen and dragging that item, I can simply press 3 buttons and have that body part healed in almost no time. Having these items such as tourniquets, gauze, or bandages in your hot cable containers will save you tons of time and tons of headache when it comes to trying to get that body part that you need healed in time, so that you can get back into the fight. It's also important to keep in mind that you can only use medical items on teammates if they are in the lightning bolt categories I mentioned before, i.e. tactical belts, pockets, or tactical rigs. It's the same system for both grenades and provisions. If you want to quickly select a grenade or food item, you will press 4, the corresponding key G or P, and then scroll down and press the key again. Using this hotkey system will 1000% save your life, so I highly recommend getting used to it if you haven't already. Moving on to actual wounds and damaged parts of your body. So how do you know which medical item to use for each type of different wound? Starting off with the most common and moving into more severe injuries later, at number 1 we have light wounds and bruises. As you may have noticed, whenever you get shot in gray zone warfare, your character may have a section of his body light up red in the top left corner of your screen. This means you're wounded. To identify what kind of wound it is, you can either tab and go over to your health screen, or in the top left corner of your screen, there will be indicators such as dizziness, fatigue, tremors, blood loss, etc. Light wounds and bruises do not have any indicators on the top left of your screen other than the fact that a part of your body will light up red. To heal these basic wounds, you'll simply want to gauze or bandage them. Bandaging a light wound will treat it the same as using a gauze, for example. Bruises will go away over time and only over time. Bandages and gauze will not help bruises go away any faster. However, when you're bruised, you'll have heavy breathing of sorts. Stop this heavy breathing, you can take painkillers, which will more than likely outlast the duration of the bruise that you have, meaning that when painkillers run out, there will be no more heavy breathing. There are 3 types of bleeds in gray zone warfare. You have light bleeds, medium bleeds, and what we'll just call heavy bleeds. Light bleeds are not very life-threatening, as you don't lose blood very quickly and you don't have a very high chance of going into a coma anytime soon. Light bleeds also have a chance to heal up and stop on their own over time. Moving on, you have medium bleeds. Medium bleeds are a little bit more severe and a little bit more life-threatening due to the fact that you lose blood much quicker compared to a light bleed. Losing too much blood, as I mentioned earlier, will send you into a coma, which is obviously not good. No one wants to be in a coma. Last but not least, the most severe out of all the bleeds, we have the heavy bleeding. If you have a severe bleed, this is something you want to address almost immediately due to the fact that leaving a bleed like this for any longer than 10 seconds will almost always send you into a coma quicker than you can realize. Light bleeds, medium bleeds, and severe bleeds are all indicated by the blood drop symbol in the top left of your screen. 1 blood drop symbol means that you only have a light bleed. 2 blood drop symbols means that you have a medium bleed. And of course, 3 blood drop symbols means that you have that severe bleed that we just spoke about. It's important to note that bandages and gauze will also stop bleeding as well as a tourniquet will. However, tourniquets are much more effective to stopping bleeds compared to bandages or gauze, due to the fact that tourniquets will immediately stop any and all bleeding no matter the type of bleed that you have, compared to bandages. If you have a severe or heavy bleed, you will have to bandage multiple times to stop both sources of bleeding. The best way to go about stopping something like a heavy bleed, as I said before, would be tourniquets at the specified area. Again, tourniquets will immediately stop bleeding and are the most effective when it comes to stopping any type of bleed. There are 3 types of tourniquets which you can buy from LabRat, find around the world, or on AI. These tourniquets are the combat tourniquet, which has 5 uses. the MFAT tourniquet, which has 3 uses, or the retractable tourniquet, which only has 1 use. Each of these tourniquets only take up 1 slot. I will mention again that using bandages and gauze on heavier bleeds still works, but it's much less effective, as healing a heavy bleed with a bandage will only stop 1 bleed at a time, meaning that a heavy bleed healed with gauze or bandage will only go to a light bleed, and a light bleed to no bleeds if healed with another bandage, if that makes sense. Tourniquets are also much faster in the animation compared to bandages or gauze. Moving on to fractures. If you have a fracture, it will be indicated at the top left of your screen by a small red bar, either in the top of your stamina bar, meaning that you have a broken leg, or at the top of your arm stamina bar, meaning that you have broken one of your arms. Having a fractured arm will affect the amount of time you can shoulder your weapon, and a fractured leg will affect the amount of time that you can sprint. You can also identify a fracture in the Health tab. This will be identified by a yellow colored bone in the fractured area. Obviously, fractures of any kind will be healed by splints, and there are 2 types of splints that you can buy from LabRat, one with 5 uses and one with 3. Keep in mind that all meds from LabRat are fairly cheap, so if you lose some, don't be worried about going and buying more. Last but not least, we have surgery and damaged organs. How do you know if you need to do surgery? Surgery is needed if one of your vital organs, an example, your heart, lungs, or brain, is penetrated or damaged. This is indicated by the coughing, dizziness, or tremor symbol at the top left of your screen after being shot. Or in the Health tab, those vitals I just mentioned will be yellow or a darker orange-yellow color. Yellow vitals are not as serious as orange ones, and you can usually still fight with yellow vitals. But taking more hits will put you much, much closer to death. So your safest bet is to get somewhere safe as soon as possible and get that surgery done. There are 2 types of surgery kits: large ones with 6 uses that take up 2 slots, and small ones with 3 uses that also take up 2 slots. Again, it's important to note that to do surgery on a teammate or to hotkey use a surgery kit, it will need to be in the tactical rig or the tactical belt, as neither surgery kit will fit in your pockets. You can do surgery on yourself from a safe container or backpack, but it will need to be done in the Health tab by dragging the surgery kit to the desired area. It's also important to keep in mind that if you need to do surgery, to get to a safe space or in cover, because it will take approximately 20 seconds to completely finish that surgery. Canceling animations. Another quick tip is that you can actually cancel any animation if you need to. By simply right-clicking your mouse, this will immediately stop any animation that you may be in, allowing you to get back into the fight, reposition, or do whatever you may need to do. Painkillers. Painkillers are used to treat any general inflammation or pain. Painkillers can also be used to stop any heavy breathing from injuries as well as coughing. In general, painkillers will remove pain for a short time so you can continue your fight until you make it back to safety. My final tips. Yes, getting used to all these mechanics may be overwhelming at first, especially if you haven't played games like DayZ, Tarkov, or Gray Zone Warfare itself before. However, getting used to the hotkey system or the med system will make your experience in Gray Zone Warfare much, much easier. One of my biggest tips would be to make sure that you always have more meds than you think you may need in the long run. Having more meds than you may need will usually keep you alive long enough to at least make it back to base and deal with any more pressing issues that you may have. My second tip would be to at least keep a surgical kit and some extra blood bags in your safe container. And my third and final tip would be to try and find some friends or buddies to play the game with. Gray Zone Warfare is a very, very harsh game, especially for someone who's playing as a solo. More so for someone who hasn't played a game with mechanics or aspects like Gray Zone Warfare has. So if this is your first time playing a game like this, I would highly recommend trying to find 1 to 2 buddies to play the game and get situated with. But if you can't find any buddies to play with, then no worries. My advice would be to just take things extra slow, slower than you think you need to. Again, always bring more meds than you think you need, and use the hotkey system. I promise, I promise, I promise, I said it multiple times, and I will say it again. The hotkey system will save your life. Alright guys, this has been Never Sweating with the only med guide you need in gray zone warfare, and I hope this helped you out. And if it did, please be sure to hit that sub button, like the video, and comment if there's anything that I missed or that you want to add. And deuces guys, we'll see you in the next one.